for my story, I'm just gonna start reading. Growing up as a kid, I was spoiled and happy. I lived with my mom and dad, and I was the only child. My parents weren't strict, and they rarely disciplined me. They were too happy to finally have had a child after their first baby was born dead 2 years before my birth. They must have felt too guilty to be stricter parents. Besides, they were both very artistic people, so me being able to express myself was important to them. They also both came from broken yet strict families, so they went 180 degrees by raising me in this very liberal way. When I was 10 years old, I first started to notice tension between my mom and dad. Every night I'd wake up from loud noises coming from downstairs, and I'd run down to ask my parents to turn the TV down. Really, they were fighting, but I didn't know that. Or maybe I did, but I didn't want to admit it. I'd start to notice fighting more and more, with my mom behaving hysterically and my dad having no control over the situation. Then one night, as my mom and I were walking the dog, she broke the news to me. Koen, your dad and I are getting a divorce, but you can't tell dad yet because he doesn't know it yet. I get excited. I mean, this means I now have 2 homes. Double the birthday presents, and I get to travel in between. How cool is that? I was only 11, and I instantly felt more mature, especially since my mom trusted me with this secret that she didn't even trust my dad, who was an adult. And that's exactly what happened. My mom moved into a small apartment, and my dad stayed in the old home. The old home was the same, the streets the same, everything's sort of the same, but something changed, something in me changed. You know, I started physically beating my dad at the age of 12. I desperately wanted him to be a man and give me direction, but instead he drank 2 bottles of wine a day and completely abandoned his responsibilities as a man. The house was a stinking mess, and so was my dad. I was fucking embarrassed. I wasn't proud of hitting my dad, and I would never tell to any of my friends that I did, but it was a last call for help. Please be a father to me. It didn't work, and he simply allowed me to beat him. Throughout my teenage years, I kept hoping for him to become the father figure I so desperately needed. He always gave me hope. Son, tomorrow I'll stop drinking. I'd make little bets with him. So if you don't stop drinking tomorrow, you give me 200 euros. Deal. I made a lot of money in those days. Child Protective Services and other social workers labeled me as an aggressive child. And my dad said I'll be placed into foster care if I didn't end the aggression. Are you kidding me? Does anyone see that he is the one to blame? Nobody understood my situation, which frustrated me even more. This ugly situation went on for 6 years, from my 12th to my 18th birthday. When I hit 18, I went away as far as I could and moved to Ipswich, England, for some reason, where I went on to find work and housing. I lived there for a year before moving back to the Netherlands. So for the next 10 years, I rarely visited him or called him on the phone. I still had way too much anger in me. I blamed him for every imperfection in my life, from not being able to talk to girls to not knowing how to become well. I may have even blamed him for electronics breaking down and poor weather conditions. And why does orange juice taste bad right after brushing your teeth? Probably his fault too. I was seeking something that I just couldn't find. By now I'm 27 and living in Asia. Love brought me here, but who knows the real reason? You know, maybe I'm seeking something outside of myself, or maybe I just really like fried rice. But after failing at every job, my own business, and a long-term relationship, all that was left was me. But who am I? My childhood dream was always to perform and do comedy, but I guess somehow I got it. And besides, how am I going to make money doing comedy? This is just a stupid idea. Now back in the Netherlands, I started performing stand-up comedy every now and again, and I loved it. Doing what I've always wanted to do felt right. I felt in place for a change, see? I'm not crazy, my environment is. Or I'm crazy and I thrive in a crazy environment. It's the same thing, really. Now getting closer to what I've always wanted to do, which is getting closer to my artistic self, I had to open up. Open up to the artistic side of me. Open up to feelings. But fuck, that was the dad side. My dad was loving, feeling extremist. I remember him drunk confessing these really weird things about being hurt and how much he loved me. I really hated him for this. What's the use of you telling me you love me when your actions are so poor? So naturally, in my young life, I was seeking the father figure, the disciplined, the masculine, while oppressing the love, the honest, the feminine. But now doing stand-up, I had to open up to the feminine side of me, by which I mean being radically honest to myself and vulnerable on stage. Daring to artistically express myself and not hide in my room all day. It meant I had to forgive and accept my dad. Accept him for who he is and who he was. Accept the fact that he will never magically turn into the father figure I really wanted as a kid. Accept that he has done exactly what he is capable of. Even accept that my recollection of my youth might be biased and flawed. Accept that maybe I was an aggressive child, and maybe I wasn't the only normal person in the house like I always thought. And most importantly, accept that my journey can only be the way that it is, and no other way. Wanting to change other people is insanity. It is what it is, baby. Life is a sick and twisted game. Sometimes the things that are the hardest are the right things to do. Sometimes you need to open up to the darkest chamber of your soul to be able to live the life that you want. Is that the reason why so few people are living up to their full potential, their life purpose? The typical hero's journey goes as follows. The hero leaves his small village to conquer and fight around the world. He learns these valuable lessons along the way, slaughters a few dragons, and returns to the small village with all his newfound knowledge. I haven't fully returned to my village yet. I mean, I'm still fighting dragons. Like yesterday, I bought two tubes of toothpaste for the price of one. Small victories every day. So these days, I regularly perform stand-up comedy, and I also regularly visit my dad. I don't blame him anymore, neither do I blame myself or feel guilty in any way. I guess that's what people mean when they talk about a healthy relationship with family. And oh yeah, I'm still broke, but I don't blame my dad anymore. I blame the government.